If you are a new YouTuber or you're thinking of starting a new YouTube channel, make sure to watch this video until the very end because it might just save you a ton of money and a lot of time. As a multiple six-figure earner on the YouTube platform, I've gone through some of these mistakes myself. I've seen these mistakes made by other people, and trust me when I say that you don't want them. I mean, who wants a headache? Who wants to lose money? And most importantly of all, who wants to waste time? Am I right or am I right? So without further ado guys, let's get this show started. Mistake number one is done for you services. Sounds pretty good though, right? I mean, you pay a little bit of money to a so-called channel manager who replicates his or her own successful channels, and voila! Your YouTube channel is done for you, and all you do is sit back and just collect the passive income. Well, let me offer you guys a bit of advice. If someone offers you a service like this, just turn around and run away. You might just lose up to $10,000. Now here's a true story. When I first started doing YouTube, there was this poor lady in an internet forum just crying about how she lost $7,500 from this exact thing. The seller of the service claimed to be the largest YouTube movie making company in the world and showed lots of credentials. But once the money was handed over, this poor lady found out that there were lots of empty promises. I felt horrible. I mean, as someone who's been in the internet marketing space for almost 10 years, I've honestly never heard of a good story come out from a completely done for you service. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist, but chances are, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, if someone offers you a service like this, you'll probably lose money, you'll get a headache, and you'll just waste your time. So, as a new YouTuber, remember this. These done for you services, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Mistake number two that new YouTubers make is outsourcing too quickly. So you've managed to avoid done for you services, but the second most problematic issue is new YouTubers just trying to outsource too quickly. Now, I made this mistake myself, to be perfectly honest. So in like month 3 or 4 or something like that, I made nearly $4,000 and at that point, I felt amazing. I felt like Mr. Freaking Beast at the time. I felt like him. I wasn't him, but I felt like it. And you know what? I thought I was ready to outsource. I thought I was ready to just push everything off my own plate, let other people do it for me. Well, before I knew it, my business tanked. That $4,000 dropped to $2,500. And on top of that, I had a payroll as well, so I had to pay people. Things didn't look good. And I felt like a boxer who just took a shot to the midsection and was taking a knee or something. At least I was making money though. Like some beginners I see, they try to outsource before they even understand what they're doing, before they're even making money, and that's a huge mistake because they don't understand anything about the business yet. They believe the freelancers they hire know exactly what to do, so they pay them a ton of money, and a few months later those videos are getting like no views at all, and the beginner YouTuber is down a couple $1,000s. Back to that analogy, if I was a boxer on my knees, these guys are knocked out. So it's a big mistake to outsource too early, especially if you're starting from zero experience. Learn the basics first, get monetized at least by yourself, and then when you're starting to make money, then start outsourcing. And when you do start outsourcing, outsource in this order. First the video editing, and then the voiceover, and then finally the script. Now every aspect of the video is important, but just trust me when I say this, do it in this order. The reasoning is because of bro science, you know, like just trust me, bro. Then when it comes to the marketing aspects of the titles and thumbnails, I recommend you to just do these yourself. I honestly, personally, to this day, I still do these myself. And in 2023, I averaged about $20,000 per month. Now, it doesn't take too long to learn how to use Photoshop. There's like a free course on YouTube. It's about 3 hours long. Or even if you're lazy, there's even Canva. But in my honest opinion, you can't make top-notch thumbnails with Canva. It can still get you up to about $5,000 per month though, from my experience. But continuing on here, mistake number 3 is being a perfectionist. Some beginners want to make sure that they know everything before they even get started. But the truth is you'll never know everything, especially as a beginner. You You can buy as many courses as you want. You can read as many books as you want, but you will still make mistakes. And here's the truth. The biggest mistake you can ever make is not taking action. Now, I'm not saying don't learn. I'm just saying spend more time producing than learning. A philosophy I used when I first was starting out was for every 5 hours I worked on my business, I would spend 1 hour learning. So for example, in a week, if I spent 20 hours working, for example, that's 4 hours of learning. If I spent 40 hours working, that beats 8 hours of learning, or roughly that amount. Now, you could do different ratios. You could do like 3 to 1, you could do like 4 to 1, or even 6 to 1, but don't be a perfectionist and don't spend all your time learning. Consistent action is one of the recipes of success. And this actually segues perfectly into mistake number 4, and that's don't be a perfectionist. Make sure to take action, but at the same time, don't just be all action. You gotta take a step back every here and there and study your work. How can you get better? How can you achieve a higher CTR? How can you achieve a higher retention rate? What are your competitors doing that you aren't doing? You gotta study these questions. Now, some people I come across are action takers, but the problem is that they never make any dramatic changes to improve. And as a result, 2 or 3 years later, they're still in the same boat. For example, one person I used to converse with a lot, especially during my early YouTube journey, he's never really made any dramatic changes to his channel. Instead, he just kept on repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Now, I try to give my best advice on how to help him improve, whether that was a thumbnail or video quality. But after a couple months, I noticed that he didn't implement any of my recommendations. His videos were the same, and as a result, his success curve went flat. Don't be like that. Make sure you're always making learning improvements. Make sure you always have a ratio of working to learning. Mine is 5 to 1, but you can set your own, but just make sure there's a ratio. Now, mistake number 5 beginners make is not following a system properly. Now, I had a mentor before when I used to do online sales. This was like close to a decade ago. And he told me something along the lines of, "Alex, don't deviate from the system, follow it." And that's exactly what I did to the best of my ability. Now, it's hard to follow systems like 100%, but 85%, 90%, that's pretty easy in my opinion. Now, for some reason though, people don't do this. Like, they don't do the easy stuff. For example, when I first started out on my YouTube journey, I spoke with many other people who were beginners just like me, who took the same courses as me, and for some reason they were doing things way differently. They were going way off track. Like, instead of 85 or 90, they were following things to like 20 or 30%. For example, some of them were in niches that were not recommended. Some of them didn't want to double down on the success they were already having. And some of them gave up even after 10 videos, after knowing that it takes around 30-ish videos to get about 1,000 subscribers, which is half of the requirements needed to get monetized. Like, I didn't understand why people would quit and change niches after just 10 videos. The system is there in place, and the system says about 30 videos. That's the process. Now, it's like telling someone it takes 10 weeks to lose 10 pounds and then they give up after 3 weeks because they only lost like 2 or 3 pounds. Like, it just doesn't make sense. When you're a beginner, don't try and figure things out. Don't try and be a maverick. Just follow a proven system. It'll save you time, it'll probably save you money, and in the end, you'll likely have a better shot of success.